Oh, hey, friends. Well, listen. Here's what happened, okay? 2 weeks ago, we were going to have an episode, and we didn't. And at that time, I iterated the episode count so that it could correctly go onto the title of the stream. And then when last week's went down, I did the same thing, but I didn't remember we hadn't actually had that episode. So when I said last episode was episode 4, what I really meant was last episode was episode 3, and this is episode 4, A New Hope. So welcome back to Warhammer 40K Rogue. I'm glad someone laughed at that.
Look,
Rogue Trader.
I feel like you've just lost 2 viewers just from that explanation at the start of the episode. They're like, okay, I'm out. I'm out.
I'm out. The iteration's wrong. The jokes are bad.
Listen, James, if that's what it took to lose them, they weren't real viewers anyway. You know what I mean? They needed... If they left, they knew what they were getting into and fully decided to leave. All right, and that was a wise decision on their part.
So I discovered this week, by the way, that Mike Lord Hunger watches now all of your shows, every single one he enjoys.
I knew
So
that.
he hasn't watched Oath of Benedictus yet. So, but like he now watches this. He watches Pendragon. He watches Star for That Number. Yeah, he's been.
Must have had a lot to talk about in the car.
Catching up. Yeah, well, we had some long drives.
Well, I accidentally almost introduced this as Rogue Trader. That's wrong. This is Warhammer
I also
40K
heard that.
Imperium Maledictum. I got stopped in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, I got confused. Warhammer, okay, third try. Warhammer 40K Imperium Maledictum Iron Archipelago Episode 4. Welcome, friends. We have Omar Krieg as Velamris Quineel, who is now in the crosshairs of a internal investigation by the Administratum due to his sniffing around and maybe stealing documents from an office that he shouldn't be. I'm also joined by Grimdark James as Holly Van der Velt, who's not in trouble for anything, which is surprising. Yeah. And KainDamael as Rassie von Lucht, a guy who should be dead. And nobody likes him for some reason.
Yeah. But he's not, and people still don't like him.
We start the episode with Rassie on screen as somebody plops down next to him and pulls out a low stick and starts smoking it, and then says, "You want one?"
I'm good.
It is Lieutenant Drider, your old commanding officer, which would indicate to you that this is the past. As we zoom out a little bit more, you're sitting on some unsecured ammo containers in a trench. We can see that there are munitions flying overhead in the background. We briefly hear like a large cannon firing, probably some sort of, what are they called? Chimeras? Basilisk? Like
Basilisk artillery?
Yeah, Basilisk artillery going off in the background with a familiar thump. And like, I gotta ignore you people in chat. You're killing me tonight. I cannot get through the intro. Strider looks at you and says, "You know what I like about you, Rassie?"
Rassie looks over.
"You're the best private I've got. But more than that, whenever I find you, there's nobody else. It's quiet. It's nice. I hope you don't find that too insulting. It's just, it's not always time for a guardsman to find time for themselves."
I might find it more insulting if it was a change, but this is just sort of how it's always been. It's weird to me that people like to get together in big groups when they don't have to. If it gives you some peace, I'm glad it helps.
He nods his head. You ever think about where it all went wrong?
Where all the witch thing went wrong.
Just stops spends 20 seconds smoking the low stick and just looking around and says, you know, just High Lords of Terra and the God Emperor and his 9 sons, the 9 demons, and all that stuff. And we're all out here. You know, it just, sometimes I look at the history and it sounds like it used to be different.
I'm sure things used to be different, but these are the trials and tribulations of mankind. This is where we get to prove our character in a way that others haven't been able to before.
Okay, well,
We can't be awesome if there's nothing that sucks to stand above.
he runs a hand through his hair and says, why do you sound like the lieutenant? You want to switch rank bars real quick?
Oh, I don't envy the service that you have right now, but I'm glad you're the one doing it.
All right, look. In about 2 hours, we're going to be doing forward assault over the top. I wish we were dropping, but we just don't have the air cover. So, out of the trenches and into the Greenskins camp. I want
just
you.
let me know what you need, LT, and I'll do it. I'm there for
I
you.
need you to stick by me. Okay, I need somebody to watch my back.
You've got it, absolutely.
Okay. He drops his cigar, or sorry, not cigarette, his glow stick, and stamps it out in the mud of the trench. And as he walks away, you wake up. It's been a week since our last episode. So it's been almost a month of service here to the Rogue Trader as you find yourself inundated with messages on your data pad or whatever passes for it. You've got pics of advertisements for local takeout places that have finally found your electronic mail address and are sending you messages constantly. You can see that the doorman has dropped your post through the post hole in your door for you. And yeah, it's just another regular day of work up ahead of you. Also, there's that thing you discussed with Velamris. I don't know if we need to flashback this discussion, if there's any specifics you want to cover, or...
I haven't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead.
I imagine I would have taken an opportunity to back brief him. Do you like that word?
Yeah.
I would filled him in. Just that it seemed like there was a bit of a conspiracy to almost intentionally get his unit lost in order to use goods, materials, weapons, ammo, funding, etc., for what appears to be the local guard regiment as opposed to his own. Because if his wasn't there, then
I think that's probably a scene.
We flash back, and we know it's a flashback because the screen gets really wavy, and this entire scene is done in black and white.
Yeah, there you go.
There's also noir saxophone.
They do the TV thing where they make sure that the characters in the modern time just had haircuts, and in the flashback they've all got longer hair, so you can tell it's a different time.
Of course.
Yes.
I have that as well, by the way.
Where would you have tried to find Rassie?
I think he would have tried to grab the 40K version of a 6-pack or 2, or maybe a 12-pack of beer, and showing up on your doorstep.
Not a 40 of malt kind of guy.
I mean, that's not typically the way I go. I have in the past, but yeah, he would have just knocked on your front door and be like, "Hey, I've got beer, and we probably should have a talk."
All right, come on in. Have a seat.
Yeah, I will definitely pass him one and then take one and look for the refrigerator because maybe his floor plan is the mirror opposite of mine.
Exactly the same as yours.
Oh, it's exactly the same. In that case, finding the fridge is super easy.
Of the hall. You know, he's across from you.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we'd have the exact. We wouldn't even have to mirror it. But yeah, I'll stick the beer in the fridge, and then
I think like as you're putting that in the fridge, Rassie just walks over to the nearest piece of furniture and like reaches underneath and pulls out some ration bar or something. Says, "You want something to eat?"
sure. He'll take it, but he won't start eating because he would go with. Did I actually make it out with any?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I do have.
You
picks,
listen. Your
at least.
investigation was successful. It's just that none of this stuff's going to hold up in court. You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah.
Going to court, you can't just be like, I have these papers here that I stole that will clearly outline.
Yeah, so I'll take that, and I'll take the ration bar, and I'll just kind of set it off to the side for the moment, and start laying out the paperwork and the copies of the picks and everything else that I have. And I'm basically, listen, I've noticed some, I don't know if tension's the right word between us, but it made me think, and I know I've seen your name before, and at first I thought it was about that whole middle name thing that, I mentioned that shortly, that first time we went out, but I've been really thinking about it, and I think I've seen your name, or at least the 143rd. I hope I got the unit number right. I've seen the Elysian Guard regiment before, and I started to do some digging, and God, I hate to throw other people under the bus like this, but it looks like it was almost as if your unit was intentionally sent to disappear so that the pockets of other units could be lined better. And I'll point to the various documents and show how the path works, how he came up with that conclusion.
Rassie will follow along and try to keep a flat affect and just sort of like look and say nothing and just continue to listen.
I think the kicker here too, other than it looks like all of this was done to favor the local guard, it looks like they intentionally put my name in it because at the time I had an incredibly low efficiency score. And they believed that I would fumble this. They expected me to fumble this so that nobody would ever catch on. And they actually, it almost looks like they tried to put the crosshairs on my back if anybody was to ever come sniffing around, that this was all my fault.
Were they right? Did you fumble it?
Certainly not through intent. I will be honest with you. I'm not the best paper worker, but I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have been able to find this information if I didn't know what I was looking for. So that should prove at least a certain level of competency on my part. I think they intended for me to bumble this and use that to further exacerbate how easy it is for a unit to quote unquote just disappear in order to further line the pockets of another unit with material, money, funding that would have gone to the 143rd, now used for another unit for no particular reason than it seemed like a good idea at the time.
What do I roll? I would like to make a roll to see if Rassie believes you.
Are you trying to roll insight?
Yeah. There's some equivalent here. And
well, from Velamris' standpoint, like, he believes this to be true. That everything he's seeing seems legit. It checks out. Like, it makes sense now that he's seeing all the different points of data.
There's a skill. Intuition has, especially people.
Yeah,
Generally
I'm wondering what Omar would roll against that, though.
Some sort of diplomacy equivalent.
I'm not sure if I would oppose it in any way, to be honest.
So intuition has a people specialization. So that would be your standard insight, like sense motive type role. And I would say that rapport would probably be the skill to try and convince somebody of something.
Yeah, I'm worried because your rapport is so bad, but
yeah,
because your rapport is bad, it may be reflected in your inability to convince him.
Can I use logic if I'm going to oppose it? Because I am trying to use evidence and data to back up my statement.
All right. I feel like those are good rolls then. Let's do it.
Okay, the game's not paused anymore. I was about to say something.
What? The game is open.
No, it was paused for a moment,
No.
but it's
I mean,
not now.
or you can't do when it's paused is move the models around the map anyway, so you can still do rolls when it's paused.
Do I don't get any modifiers or anything, do I?
No.
Okay. Perhaps I misread some of the information, but I think the gist is still there. That's not for me to interpret though.
Can you buy a level of success?
You can, yeah. With a fate point, you can move that from a -0 to I think it would go to sort of a +1.
Is it? It won't matter that much.
Yeah.
We'll see Kane's roll and we'll make a
Oh, you know what?
determination.
I rolled lore, not logic. I meant to roll logic.
Well, what would it be if it was logic?
It would be the same stat.
Okay.
They're both intelligence based, so
It's not
yeah.
going to make a difference then.
No.
Dice on the table.
No, I mean,
You don't get to re-roll.
no worries.
So I can spend a fate to give myself the ability
Advantage?
to flip the dice before if I spend it before I roll.
That's correct.
Okay, then I will do that.
Very well. You really want to succeed at this, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's. Or I could just roll doubles.
So it's a critical failure then.
Oh boy.
Ooh, it is doubles, yeah.
Would
Sorry about that.
you like to spend a fate to re-roll? Can you do that?
You can. Yeah.
I think for the sake of the party, I will.
Okay. I mean, this is it though. This is all of the
Totally.
beans.
Totally
Yeah.
not inferring that he's going to shoot me if he fails.
Look, it's not that you don't trust Velamris's word here. It's just there are some reservations, you know? Velamris, if you have spent the fate point to get yourself to a positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll spend a
Velamris
because I am
puts
trying to
his
prove it.
whole heart out here on the line, but you know, you've just had some inklings that he might not be that competent. And he himself admits that he could possibly have been incompetent enough to have let this happen to you. It's honestly hard to say whether he's fully telling the truth, or even if he is telling the truth, whether that is the whole truth. You know what I mean? There are still doubts in your mind. You don't, I mean, a -1 isn't bad, but you don't fully trust what he has to say here.
He might not be lying, but I also don't know if he's just right in the first place.
Yes. Also, he could only be seeing a small part of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So despite fate heavily intervening in this scene of the past, we cut back to the future and your mind is filled with doubt.
And I would have left the beer with him also. I would have
Okay,
taken
we
like
cut to
the one
one
that,
week in the future and the beer is still there. He
probably
hasn't
gone.
cleaned it up. It's still on a coaster.
Oh no, I would have drank my beer, but like the rest of the 12-pack in the fridge, I'd have just left that for him.
Okay.
I'm not gonna show up and then take the beer with me.
Yeah, I think after you've done your explanation, all that Rassie says is, you've given me a lot to think about. I recognized your name on some paperwork that cost the lives of some of my guardsmen. And this conversation wouldn't have meant anything unless you were the one to start it. So, but I've got a lot to think about.
I'm not even sure if anything I say about the loss of comrades would mean anything, but for what it is worth, I definitely feel some sort of way about them having gone out there for nothing and end up dying anyway. But I'll leave it
For what
to
it's
you.
worth, I feel something.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to be as empathetic as possible, but he doesn't know the right words to use to fully convey that.
Don't worry. Despite your signature, They found ways to die for the Emperor.
Suppose there is solace there. Would that we all could just die for the Emperor instead of all the other dumb reasons. I think he might even toast the fallen of the 143rd, but he may have to play that one out and see if that's a good idea or not before actually doing it.
I mean, if he tries to, Rassie's not going to do one with you.
Yeah, I think that's what he's afraid of. Is he means it, but he also doesn't want you to feel like he doesn't want you to think he's trying to do anything dishonorable or shameful in their memory. Like he's trying to be reverent, but he's worried it might not come across the same way that he intends it. He's also got really low fellowship, so it's very easy to misunderstand.
You can take the files back to wherever it is you took them from. I'll remember.
Oh, I think I will. I may have to destroy these. I don't think my time there was well spent. I may have been noticed.
Well,
I'm not sure. Going back may not be a good idea.
then maybe you should get to it.
Indeed. Thanks for your time and enjoy the rest of the night.
Rassie just gives you a nod as you leave.
And I will take my one open beer and the ration bar with me. And the papers.
Then we hear like a double clap, and then the happy, upbeat intro of the TV show starts playing, with everyone like turning to smile at the camera as their name and title in the company appears. And we cut to the three of you at work in the main office area with Liturgical looking over all of you, doing his supervisorial duties, peeking over his scroll occasionally at you before going back down to it and muttering some more. And the three of you have gathered around a series of documents that are the product reviews and testing from your kin hard bottle weapons shipment. What was it James said on Discord? I hope they have their ISOs.
They're ISO 9001 42,000 available.
I did not find that form. I found the 9001 form as a series of different forms, but
because it's based on the year that the standard came out, so they wouldn't be doing it to ISO 9001 2022.
You got me, James. You got me on that one.
Yeah, that's quality assurance. Want to make sure that that they have quality processes in their manufacturing and don't use slave labor.
That look on AP's
It's the
face.
42nd millennium, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. The quality of their processes are as questionable as their slave labor. Yeah, you've got the prototype weapon that Velamris has been given, and you've got a couple things on your schedule. I know that there was a promise made to Investigator Decker to go see Father Firebrand. You've got this nebulous meeting that could go down at any time with the tunnel snakes. There's a bunch of different people that you all indicated you wanted to talk to. There was some question about whether you wanted to talk to the Imperial Navy, and there was a question of whether you wanted to go meet the exiled from these particular floating rocks, because the locals hate them. They're not exiled, like they're not Mechanicus anymore. But the local Adeptus Mechanicus enclave in their little orbiting moonatoid. And who knows? All of you, of course, have your own personal problems you could get to at any time. What would you like to do here?
Rassie wants to organize a trying to decide what. I want to say basketball because that'd be easy. He wants to organize a basketball game for the building. Get like different parts of the building to put together teams, maybe see if there's an interest.
Interesting. I'm not going to make you roll for that. I think there is an interest in, what would you call it, intramural or whatever, like interdepartmental. My question is, how are you going to form a team? Because there's only 3 people in your department.
No, there's 4, because there's our supervisor, the liturgical.
Oh,
We could probably get Gropsis too if you wanted.
Gropsis is a janitor for the whole building. He does not work for you.
See, this is
So he's a free agent, so that means we can easily get him on our team.
for this whole for this whole period of time that we have availability of the drop troopers. This is what we call them in for.
Oh my god! I'm about to show some weak knowledge. How many people are on a basketball team?
5 aside playing at any point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 on the court.
There's the 3 of you. I don't think you want liturgical playing blind basketball, but okay. And you're
But
3
he sees
at
in
least.
other ways.
Oh my
Doesn't he have telekinesis or something?
Like, I was going to sit in the bleachers with a giant foam finger. Like,
There's 5. There's your 5. Then. Sure. Okay, you've got your 5. Chief Tyrrell reports in that, of course, the mechanics down in the vault will show up. The garage has assembled their own team. The vending machine people, and also the internal sales team, all ready to go. The sort of, what do they don't call them scholars in, what do they call, savants? Is that what they call it in Warhammer 40K?
Savants, yeah.
Yeah, the local savants don't think that they'll perform well and decline to make a team.
I would like to try to convince them that it's.
Oh boy! I told this man he didn't need a roll, and now he wants to triple down at his worst skill.
He's
I
trying
think
to
he
find a
will
new
as well.
stunt team.
Like Rassie is trying to learn how to do some of these skills, and in order to try to practice them, has been trying to learn from watching Holly talk to people.
Can I suggest as well that you make the rule 10 arms, not 5 people, because that way you stop the mechanicus people from coming in with their mechadendrites and getting unfair advantages.
That seems almost borderline.
They only have 1 person play, but it's a Magos. He literally just gets the ball and then he climbs on the ceiling and dunks.
I just had a really dumb idea with the visual I had with that. What if they used servitors and just that was their only purpose was to play basketball?
Oh,
From what I know about
Lobotomized
servitors, they
people.
probably are not good at dribbling, so...
Probably not, but I can imagine they can move the ball.
But yeah, I want to try to talk to them and talk about how it's a team thing, it's a bonding thing. It's, it helps you meet other people in other departments. So, you've got faces to names if you need help with things. It'll help all of our jobs be easier, and it'll be a good time.
They send I think her name is Dr. Yiannopoulos,
Yeah.
to be their contact to refuse to speak to you. So you speak to her, make your roll. Let's see how it goes.
Ooh, this
All right, so this is going to be rapport.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
Can I use my haggle specialization for this?
Oh boy. You know what? Let's say yes, just to help you in any way you can get it.
Okay. And because ultimately this is a comedy show, I will spend a fate to be able to reverse the die.
Okay. All right. That didn't help you
to
before.
Get advantage.
Man's about to roll a 91 and turn it into an 8. Didn't help you here either.
No, it does.
No, 35.
35 will win.
Oh,
Success.
it didn't automatically reverse it? Interesting.
It doesn't. I
Okay.
haven't seen it do it yet.
I want to imagine she's sitting there sweating and her glasses are fogging up and you're just like rum, 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 and your face just keeps getting bigger and bigger and you just are like friendship, teamwork, good cooperation. And she's just so scared like a rabbit. And then she goes back and she's like, we have to do it, guys. We have to do it. I think I might have accidentally said yes. We have to do it. He was just so convincing.
And now we have an even number of teams. It'll make it easier to build a bracket.
Velamris is going to send her a little thank you note saying thanks for joining the team or the league or whatever.
Yeah.
It certainly made Rassie's day. Because I imagine after you get that final team and you're like, yes, even numbers, brackets are easy now. You just won't stop talking about it for like a solid hour.
Oh,
so-
yeah. I mean, there's this whole pile of quality assurance paperwork, and Rassie doesn't know what any of it means. Rassie wants to continue to be helpful and help us be able to get stuff from other people in the building without being so difficult. So good, teamwork, camaraderie,
So
mandatory
Velamris-
fun, all good stuff.
So Velamris would be quick to point out in the thank you note that how much better or how much happier Rassie is with the savants joining the league.
At some point,
There's some very basic rules that get sent out to the team leaders that are all like, have the proper number of limbs, players have to be alive, basic stuff.
Have to be alive.
Liturgical goes over your list of which teams have which players, and he says, you should probably remove me from this particular list, but you're missing someone.
Am I?
Yeah, oh yes. The Inquisitorial agent assigned to our team, Robur.
The skull, is that?
What the? Why would we name the skull?
I can't help but picture a name tag.
He turns
Hello,
to look
my
at the
name is
skull.
on
The skull looks at him.
Is the Inquisitorial
a
agent
single
like-
tear runs down the skull's eye socket.
Don't joke. The skull doesn't have any moisture inside its cold, dead body.
But it does have a "Hello, my name is" tag on it now.
No, it doesn't. And the skull's name is not Robur. Robur is the Inquisitorial agent who's been following you the whole time.
Okay, it's gonna be Robert, whatever,
Oh my
1A.
God. Oh my God. No.
Yeah, I guess I will go find Robert.
Great. I would like you to make a find person check at a -20.
What role is this?
That's a great question. When you play so many
this-
tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, right.
What would that be under?
Would this be awareness?
Yes,
That's a
absolutely.
great starting point.
Okay.
Do you have any of the sub disciplines you'd like? Oh my God.
Nope.
-6?
Not a critical failure.
I feel like you waste 2 hours of your life going around asking people where Robert is, and you just get people who are like, "Who's Robert?"
Yeah, we forfeit the first game because we don't turn up in time with an extra player.
That way you're underdogs for the rest of the season.
No. So it's just scheduling this stuff to be a little bit in the future. But yeah, I think after spending hours looking for this Inquisitorial agent and being completely unsurprised by an inability to find them, Rassie will just turn to the skull and say, if you would like to play, I don't know if you're being hands-on or hands-off, but if you'd like to, we certainly enjoy having you on the team. And then goes back to find everyone else.
Hovers ominously in front of you and does nothing. This may be a comedy, but it's still the Inquisition.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Rassie's going to spend a little time figuring out what we're going to do for jerseys. We got to have like t-shirts or something.
God, I love that this is what you've chosen to spend your time on. For the rest of you, would you like to do your actual in-game job? You know what? Before I do this too much, I just want to say, I played a Cyberpunk 2020 game with Dave Traeger, aka Henley, and in the first episode, one of the other NPCs who was a manager in a different department pissed me off. So I took my whole team and did a hit on him, and I think we killed his wife and blamed him for it, and set fire to a bunch of stuff. And one of the team members made like a mecha dog that got instant headshot killed. And at that point, I just kept going from there. And I forgot that at the beginning of the episode, Dave told me that my team had to perform an arms deal. And so in episode 6, the CEO called me into his office and was like, "Hey, where's that arms deal?" And I was like, "What arms deal?" And Dave was like, "The arms deal I told you to do at the beginning of the first episode." And I was like, "Oh, fuck, we've just been killing Brett." We've spent 6 episodes fucking around, killing Brett and blaming him for the damage. So don't get me wrong, you guys can fuck around here. If you want to. I have to allow it. But is there anything you'd like to do about your actual job for the Rogue Trader, which does not involve intramural basketball?
I was. So did we say that we'd had some sort of reports already from Kin Hardbottle about what they produced? Were you saying?
Yeah, they've sent you a prototype, which Velamris has examined, and they're sending you regular, like, weekly updates. So the things that they're producing are not here. They're producing it somewhere else, and they're getting reports via psychers about its progress, and then shipping the prototypes here.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question that comes from real product engineering.
Yes.
So is the prototype they've sent us like a handmade prototype to meet the spec, or is it a prototype made using the production methodology they will plan to use for the final product?
It is a handmade copy of a Imperial pattern weapon. Using
it's like it's a proof of concept type piece.
Yes, it uses their methodology to accomplish the final goal of a preset. So it's not using Imperial processes, but black box, the end result is the same or quite similar.
Yeah. Okay. It's a gun, and the end process is projectile comes out this end at speed.
You understand how it works. And it's shaped roughly the same. Yeah, and uses a similar caliber of ammunition.
So the group downstairs that had the armor, are they more suited to testing the functional properties of this weapon? I mean, Velamris, I'm sure, can determine that it meets the spec in terms of diagrams and that sort of stuff and weight.
They have a whole testing department here.
Okay, yeah. So I think that if anyone wants to join me, I'm going to take this down to the testing department, down to the boys in the lab. Check it out.
Yeah, Velamris will be happy to go and check out this new firearm.
Rassie's absolutely down.
It is located in a separate building attached to the complex. The building is built directly into the private docking port for the Rogue Trader. And when you get there, you can see it's like one guy and like 15 servitors. He's wearing a Imperium version of a lab coat, so I assume it has like 5 collars and giant gold buttons.
Shoulder pads.
Yeah, shoulder pads, of course. And he has a funny hat, but he's also got big goggles, and he just puts them on and he says, "All right, test the cake." And the servitor just, and then his head explodes. And he's like, "Nope, that's a failure." Okay. He turns back to the armory glass windshield to speak to you all, and walks up to it and presses a button to talk to you and says, "Hey, how's it going? I assume since you've gotten in here, you work for the Rogue Trader?"
Now, I want to know before I answer that, is this one of the windows with the speaker inside the pane, or is this a window with a slit that we're talking through?
It's a speaker inside the pane.
Okay.
Yes,
James, if you want to take that one on.
I'm Holly Van der Velt. This is Velamris Quineel and Rassie.
He's nodding at you and he's pointing.
Okay.
He presses the button on his side and says, "You have to press the button."
Okay. Could someone press the button for me, please?
I think Rassie just like reaches out. Rassie's so conditioned to take orders, he just reaches out, pushes the button immediately. He's like, "Oh."
As I was saying, I am Holly Van der Velt. This is Velamris Quineel and Rassie Van Lucht. We're here to have some products tested that we have got a prototype for the Rogue Trader on.
Okay. He goes to press his button and nothing happens, and he's gesturing at you.
Okay.
I let go of the button.
I think you have to let go of the button.
Yeah, I let go of the button.
Okay, I'm gonna buzz you in, and then you hear like a brrr. It's not like the annoying buzz I bet you're thinking of. It's the Imperium, so it's so much worse.
That is the one I was thinking of.
When he says you're going to buzz, I also asked Rassie to push the button again so I can say, "Okay."
Click.
What appeared to be a wall.
So there was a comedy show that used to be on Australian TV like 20 years ago, and one of the characters was a newscaster, like the guy behind the desk who would do nothing for himself. And like I remember in one of the episodes, he had like his tie was like slightly down, so you could see like the edge of the tie, and he realized and goes, "Oh, somebody!"
He presses another button, and what appeared to be before a wall opens up into an airlocking chamber that the three of you fit uncomfortably into before the other side opens into what is a long, white-paneled, slightly like a firing range, but also like a place where an explosion recently happened and a semi-biological entity's head recently exploded. You can see there are other servitors. One of them has had his lower arm replaced with a broom and is just broom pushing the ragdolling dead body, causing a streak of blood and gore across the ground.
Is there like a conspicuous shadow on the wall in the shape of a person?
Wow. I was going more for Portal, but yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, it's kind of scary radioactive stuff too, yeah. All right, so I assume you've got the item in question and all the attendant paperwork for me to review.
I have the gun. Did anybody else
Okay,
grab
you
the
have
paperwork?
a gun. What does this gun do?
It shoots. I forget I forget what exactly this weapon. I think it was just supposed to be a replacement for
It's Imperium
or something, wasn't it?
pattern rifle.
Okay. Yeah, it's a generic gun. I figure that you pointed at something that you want to shoot and you pull the trigger, and
It's a standard infantryman's las gun.
Okay. When you say that, he's like, yes. Okay. There are plenty of guns that you don't pull the trigger, and there are also weapons that are firearm shaped that don't kill people or shoot things. We'll talk sometime about the gun that erases people from history. But we'll probably forget about that one, though.
Velamris is definitely making a mental note. Whether or not he remembers his mental notes is a different story.
He clearly he looks over at you and is like, that was a joke. That was a joke. That gun doesn't exist.
Mental note erased.
Anymore.
Somewhere out there, two dark angels go, someone said something. What do you, just the full series of diagnostic tests, or are you just looking for me to pull the trigger and make sure this thing works?
Well, I would like to pull the trigger once or twice, but I'm sure there is a whole process of testing.
Sure, but if you want to pull the trigger, I'm not going to stop you.
Out of character, sorry. This prototype is in excess of what we've ordered, isn't it? It's like okay, so we can do destructive testing on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I think we should run the full gamut up to and including destructive testing.
Okay, I'm probably going to need 2 weeks or so. I'll also need to be able to get into the rifle. I assume there's no booby traps or anything that might injure me in the process.
None are supposed to be there.
You all look very silent when I said that.
No. Rassie says none
should have been an easy no.
Rassie says none are supposed to be in there, but that's also part of the testing.
It is a copy of a weapon that if the weapon it is based on would have that, then probably this one would have that too. Would a regular infantryman's rifle have that sort of booby trap technology? He takes the rifle
and he hands it to one of his servitors, and he says, "I'll tell you what, we're gonna start from the real basics." He says, "Put that over there and bring me my toolkit."
This is not really my area of expertise, and I want to have there's like just a very brief, like in like the Family Guy, you get those really short flashbacks to like a single sentence, that sort of stuff, and there's a quick flashback to like Holly during training where like she was actually tested to see whether she could be a sister of battle, turning up to like the training exercise with no magazine in her gun, and then getting lambasted by the training officer.
Son of the God Emperor Holly, who do you think you are? Then we just cut back to this guy going, all right, so here's the paperwork saying that I have taken possession of your weapon. You've indicated here you would like destructive testing, so I assume I will not be returning this device to you at the end of the testing period. My estimated time is 2 weeks. down at the bottom, it's just signed N. Hoplite.
All right. So before we just one last thing. Once we sort this out, we all get fresh new business cards. If you could bring the timing for it, I could probably work you into that too.
I really appreciate that offer, but I work in testing. Occasionally we lose air pressure here and it gets a little gaspy, and that's kind of the way I like it. Alone, without other people in my workspace.
All right, well, maybe we could just come back every day and check to see how it's going.
How about you come back in 2 weeks?
I mean, we've got the time to see. You know, I mean, if it would help, you know, if it's going to take 2 weeks, I guess I'm going to get my calendar. I'll schedule in 14 visits.
I think Velamris is just standing there watching this exchange, and it's just like,
You know what? Rassie's doing that. Rassie's just like head down a little bit, pinching the eyebrows.
yeah, I don't know. I think Velamris is just gonna be like, you said 14 days. I guess it's gonna be 14 days. I don't know about visiting every single day, but I certainly would want to check in from time to time. But
I know. Look, all I try to do is give him incentive to do it faster.
Yeah.
So you in the calendar system. I can book your time in the calendar system.
Oh, look at that. My time for this visit is up for today. Let me buzz you out.
Very well.
Let's go.
It makes the horrible noise when the doors open.
And by the way, we'll need like whatever's left after you destroy it, we'll need that
He
back.
just
too,
holds the button down so that you can't hear anything.
We see her lips moving, but we can't hear it over the droning buzz sound.
Yeah, Rassie just mouths, "I'm sorry," as he leaves.
I love James's attempt to manage up. Do you have this employee right now, James? Are they in the room with you?
I'm just saying that engineering, like getting engineering to shorten their time frames, is like one of the most important jobs in product management, because they will take as long as they possibly can.
Don't bring this to me. Don't you dare.
So I just, as a side note, so I had a product that was a system that would allow you to do access control, like have a card, buzz it on a door and go through as such. And I told engineering I needed to add the ability to control elevators to it, and they were like, "Oh, elevators, they're pretty complicated devices. Yeah, that's a pretty major job." I'm like, actually, elevators just have a series of switches in them, and all you need to have is one relay per level. And when you badge a card, it fires the relays for the levels that is eligible for that, and that just tells the elevator with the switches it can go to those levels. And I'm like, look, we're engineers. Don't tell us how to do the job. Tell us what the outcome you want is, and we'll see how long it will take. I'm like, okay, well, the outcome I want is that this card will control the elevator. Yeah, that's really complicated. You know, it's going to require a whole lot of data writing. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, I think AP is bleeding internally right now.
The thing is, with his story, I have nothing to add to that. That sounds correct to me.
The worst, though, is the people that show up and like, "Oh, but I know the solution," and they don't. But they're so certain that their Google Foo was good enough, and they insist on a specific implementation and trying to talk them out of it. That is the biggest waste time that I've ever had.
Tell you, if we're going to make a next generation space shuttle, it has to use the engines from this company and the avionics from this specific company.
Oh,
yeah.
And the fuel needs to be made in Ohio. And that's how you get the current generation American space program.
Awfully specific, and yet also, yes, that sounds exactly like how NASA works.
That is exactly how NASA works. Congress dictated which parts must be purchased to make the next generation of space flights. It's scary.
From where?
Well, the worst part is that those parts are now like 20 years old. Oh my God. All right. Look, before I get too deep into my own engineering hell and my time in the FAA, let's take our first break. We'll be back in 5 minutes, and hey, maybe we can check the scores on the Super Bowl and see how it's going.
9-0 49ers last I checked.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
10-0
spoilers,
10-0
but,
now.
all right. We'll be back, friends. Woo, boys and girls, it's the dealer Kroltus here for you again. We got the metal wheat, we got the protein grain, we got the porcine. Head on down to Kroltus and see what you can get fresh. Kroltus, where the only thing more pure than our food is our faith. All right, we are going back. If you can't see Cade, it's all right. He's got his camellia lion cloak. He's actually done eating by the time the stream has actually loaded the switchover, so perfectly fine. James asked me an extremely technical question about my favorite microphone that I am not qualified to answer in any way. I've never plugged anything into my HyperX Quadcast, so good luck. Hey, you tell me how it works, James. What can I say? We're back at the office again. Velamris, you're still looking for information on Dinas Katari and his team?
Yeah, I think liturgical. We obviously, you know this by now, but we had that run-in with the Wanderer and the Tunnel Snakes, and this was clearly an outfit that Katari was using. Unfortunately, they are antagonistic towards us at this moment. I'm wondering if we may encounter other problems, and if so, what we may have to do to resolve them if we were to use any of the other agencies that Katari was working with.
So he just looks at you weirdly and he says, are you sure that we have a bad relationship with the Tunnel Snakes? Because my understanding is we're about to undergo a pretty major monetary transaction with them. Am I wrong?
No, that is part of the process. They were certainly antagonistic initially towards us.
Okay.
Perhaps because things didn't go so well with Katari's group. Makes me wonder if there are other agencies that we need to be worried about or concerned with or look into, or if, on the flip side, if they're still reliable, why not continue using them or further developing those relationships?
Oh, you want to know about Katari's team? And okay. He reaches into his desk and he pulls out like a bloody dagger that has been stabbed into a parchment message that has been written in human blood. And he says, well, this was left on the front door of this building a couple days ago. We shot the messenger to death, but he stabbed our front door with a knife.
To hold a message, apparently.
To hold the message, yes. Written in human blood. Yeah.
Yes.
On this parchment, yeah.
May I see that?
Sure. He slides it over to you.
I will read it, assuming it's in Low Gothic.
Did you start to feel funny reading it?
I wonder.
It is a message from, it says, Dinas Katari, comma, you owe us. This is proof of one invoice. Meet with us immediately, you son of a bitch. At the bottom, it is signed the Ice Methods.
Ice Methods.
Method. MEFHITS.
Yes. I'm going to, liturgical. What is the Ice Methods? Do you know anything about this?
He turns his swivel chair to look at you and does this. And then slowly turns his swivel chair away from you.
Gonna take that as a no. And then I'm gonna turn to my team and I'm assuming Holly and Rassie are in the office as well at this point. I'm just gonna show them the letter. Look at this. Katari having wonderful interpersonal relationships with a variety of people. Call me crazy. This looks like blood.
Wait, Rassie just looks at it and says, yeah, that's blood. You aren't sure? You know what? Never mind. it is.
Well, I haven't been in the business of killing people on a regular basis, so at any rate, anybody curious to know what the ice methods are, or should we just, shelve this for now in lieu of something else?
I mean, does that's got the same kind of name as the tunnel snakes? Is this another fractionist group?
So out of character, let me just say that because you do the go and get pick up intel on the area.
I did,
which gives you advantage on any law checks to determine these sort of things.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I would like to make some sort of lore roll here.
Sure. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I don't have any specialization, so it's just going to be lore with advantage, I believe.
Yeah,
because of that.
Because of that, that's right. Yeah.
So I do have advantage. What do I know about the ice methods?
On a +4 with impressive success advantage. You start barking up the wrong tree to begin with. You're like criminal, infractionist. And that's not wrong, but you're thinking like the tunnel snakes, right?
Street gang kind of thing.
You're thinking street gang, but even among street gangs, someone who claims to have hit a ship in motion and ripped its armory, that's pretty impressive. The ice methods are not that kind of gang. They're not some sort of petty gang that you would play in like Necromundus or whatever it is. These are like a actual organized mafia style gang. The ice methods are influence traders who are not based in the Imperium. They are based in the rest of the dusty, floating, lonely rocks that orbit the Space Hulk out here, Cetes Alpha, and they also operate out of Cetes Alpha occasionally. They are a real deal, like actual gangster, controlling shadow government of the rest of the rocks out here.
So an evil Bene Gesserit.
I don't know that you call them Bene Gesserit. That implies a level of witchcraft to it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They keep order through violence. They have, I mean, I could say incalculable wealth, but compared to the Imperium, what does that even mean? But for the people who live out here mining space debris, they are quite wealthy.
Safe to say they would be well armed and armored if necessary, if we were to attempt to interact with them.
I mean, okay, on a +4, they have a core group of soldiers, but the majority of their members are not like violent psychopaths. They're accountants and business owners, money lenders, intelligence experts, spies, espionage, that sort of thing, courtesans, influence peddlers. But they do have like a company of trained hardcore, like former Imperium and like hard scrabble gangsters. It's not something that's deployed often, but it is something that's paraded. If they needed a hit team, they could do it. Oh yeah, if they wanted to put together a hit team, they could for sure. And I mean, the fact that, you know, they sent a message and their man was brazenly murdered outside of your building, you know. I think you know on a +4 that this is kind of the traditional way of sending a like final notice warning, like, hey, you're way past due, is to like nail the message with a dagger to the front door. However, in this case, while he was busy trying to nail it through the front door, he couldn't get through the incredibly super tough Imperium building materials and was instead shot to death before he could finish doing it.
I'm going to look at Liturgical for a brief moment.
Liturgical turns to look at you and says, I know you're looking at me.
Well, yes, that's not at all creepy. Liturgical, this is exactly the sort of thing that we're going to need to know about. Just, I guess we don't necessarily have to use Qatari stuff, but this is yet another group that Qatari owed. This is now coming to us. Yes, we shot this messenger, but the methods are not necessarily.
I'm going to be straightforward with you. Qatari had a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and he died a violent death. I don't know where he put all of his chips. And he's not the only team I've ever worked with. A lot of these groups have a lot of side deals that I overlook. Things go missing, that sort of thing. As long as our core goals are met, I don't care what sort of side things you have going on. For all I know, what's happening here is a side thing.
I'm going to point at the thermometers, and so as long as those are full, no questions.
Well, they're not full, are they?
No, thus questions. Thank you.
Okay, you seem like you've got it. Oh, all right. Most people don't get it when I explain it to them. Thank you. It looks like you've improved in his esteem slightly.
Also not creepy. And I'm just gonna nod and go back to the group and be like, all right, so what's next on the docket? We'll have to chase this down eventually. But I feel like we might have more important things to worry about, like the stupid tunnel snakes and the deal with them.
Is there some sort of expectation? Is it normal to have this much interaction with infractionists?
So, Rassie, when you speak, you see Liturgical kind of jump slightly before settling back into his chair.
You're so loud, Rassie. You got to use your indoor voice, man.
You're not that loud, is the thing.
I know. That's why Velamris said that.
Yeah, Rassie just does like a slow...
Sorry, was that a question for me, Rassie? We're rogue traders. When we are not in Imperium territory, we do business with whoever the rogue trader wants us to do business with. Which could be anyone.
I suppose I'm just figuring that out in time.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you want to make money, you usually have to get it from people who have money.
Well, we know the tunnel snakes are planning to roll a bomb in here.
Well,
if the ice methods are trying to stab a blood-written message on the door, I assume they're also probably going to be looking to knock on the door again soon.
Is there
a way we can first?
Is there a way we can pit those two against each other?
This is the point where Liturgical whistles and then he slides over to the next desk to get as far away from this conversation as possible.
I think Velamris looks at Holly and he's just like, I like that idea. I don't know what'll happen and I don't know what we need to do to make it happen, but I like the idea.
Well, see, we get them to come to blows, and then when they do it, we make sure the Arbites show up and make sure that nobody else walks away. Eh?
I've seen Arbites in action. They are relentless and ruthless.
They're efficient.
That is certainly a word that one could use. And he's having a momentary flashback to the train in the prologue episode.
Oh, right, where they shotgun sprayed everybody
every
in the train.
fucking body.
Yeah. Hey, man, this is the Imperium. What do you want from me? There are no good guys.
No.
So one of the things about the Arbites is that they're not strictly just about law enforcement. They're about ensuring that the Imperium itself is protected. So one thing we could consider, like I think the thing about the tunnel snakes that would most get the Arbites interested is the fact they have an explosive which could do significant damage to this station, because damage to this station in itself hurts the Imperium in some way.
And they've declared intent to use it.
Yeah, but we want that dealt with before it comes to our house. I don't know whether I didn't get the impression from what you described that the ice, whatever they are, and these tunnel snakes had come to blows in the past. They're not negatively aligned.
I think it may be a little unreasonable to expect something like that to happen simply because the tunnel snakes are more boots on the ground versus the behind the scenes of the methods and the way the two groups act and conduct themselves. I could be wrong. I could be misreading something here, but the idea of getting them at each other's throats is amusing, but I don't know how realistic it would really be.
Well, the tunnel snakes are territorial. So if we find another faction that the Ice Mephits would meet with, and we try and see that the Mephits want to meet with them on Tunnel Snake's territory, at the same time that the Ice Mephits know that that other group wants to meet with them on Tunnel Snake's territory, and some sort of meeting takes place, gets the Tunnel Snakes offside, but they'll probably just go there and accuse them of being on their territory, in which case both sides will say, you know, we were invited by the other side, and it becomes clear that someone's trying to manipulate them.
Yeah, it'll certainly sounds like it would splash back on us a little more than we would like. On the other hand, the Mephits may not necessarily be a horrible source of information. From the sounds of it, they do have their fingers in a wide variety of pies. Perhaps that could be useful for us.
Do we try and set up a meet? Like they've reached out to us, albeit in a strange way.
Well, if Qatari, I'm sorry.
I say, do we respond back and try and make a meet out of this?
Maybe they won't be as ridiculous as the Tunnel Snakes tried to be.
Certainly more respectable if we know more about what's going on before we meet with them than we did with the Tunnel Snakes. We were essentially completely unaware of previous dealings.
Other factions the Ice Mephits are involved with, we can try and seek an introduction through.
From the sounds of it, they're involved with a wide cross selection of everybody here on the oh god, I almost said it. Archipelago. Archipelago.
We could ask Kin Hardbottle for an intro if they know them.
Certainly a route.
Otherwise,
I mean, you spent some of the last 2 weeks traveling around. Did you find anywhere that belongs to them?
You know what? You got a +4. I will tell you, I mean, a +4 is really good. It's not everything, but it's really good. The Ice Mephits are known to have recently completed a deal in the last year with the Sisters of Silence as part of the last Black Ship Tithe. They gathered up rogue psychers in their territory and basically sold them to the Imperium for pennies on the dollar.
And what is the Sisters of Silence? Out of character, because I don't know.
James,
they're part of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. So you have the Astra Telepathica look after all of psychers in the Imperium, and the Sisters of Silence are a group of all psychic blanks that are the militant arm of the Astra Telepathica, which round up escaped psychers and transport them back to Earth for testing or destruction, basically.
When you're dealing with rogue psychers, it helps to have an army of people who are immune to psychers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
They're an all-female order, and they also take a vow of silence so that they never speak again.
Perhaps finding some way to gain favor with the sisters to get the meet with the Ice Mephits might not be out of order.
When you mentioned the Sisters of Silence and the Adeptus Telepathica, Liturgical excuses himself and leaves the room.
Wait, Liturgical, before you go.
Yes?
Surely you have contacts within the Astra Telepathica.
He swallows and says, yes, I do. I am known there.
Any chance you can facilitate an introduction for us?
I think it would be best if you do not use my name.
All right.
Possible deniability. Not at all, because other reasons.
And Lord Captain Darkwind has no notable reputation with the Astra Telepathica?
It doesn't take a roll as he gets extremely evasive with you and says, there may be some roadblocks if you use his name as well.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
When he helped me leave the service of the wider Imperium, there were difficulties. You may want to
Liturgical, there's
go.
more layers to the onion of Drew than I expected.
Well, I've gazed upon the God Emperor, so to me, you're just a little man.
Sure. We all live to serve, don't we?
Everything around us is crazy all the time, and demons stalk every corridor waiting to break through into this world.
Velamris has nothing to say to that because anything he might say at this point is just going to be too smart, too sarcastic.
The best explanation I ever heard for Psychers was, imagine there's a door, and behind that door is an incredibly powerful force that wants to destroy you, everything you never loved, your friends, your family. It just wants to tear them all apart. Now imagine that door can only be kept closed by constant vigilance, watching it. The moment you take your eye off the door for a second, it opens up and all those things come out. Now imagine that door is inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the Psychers lot in 40K.
Yeah.
Liturgical leaves, having warned you against using the rogue trader's name and his own.
Yeah.
So
Which may be a hint that the patron has a negative influence with the Adeptus Astra Telepathica.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to invoke Occam's razor here and say that I think that trying to go through someone else to get introduced to the Astra Telepathica, to get introduced to the ice methods is probably too many steps. They've reached out to us. Maybe we try to reach out to them back directly.
Well, that's why I was asking if maybe Velamris had found anywhere that they might be on the station in his wanderings.
I would imagine there is some coffee shop or eatery or something that.
It's a traditional Iron Archipelago, like homemade family cuisine shop.
Yes.
Okay. He has an address though, right?
Yeah, they make traditional Archipelagoian pasta with sauce like grandma
Why are you
used to
killing
make.
me with all these syllable words? Oh my god! I can't even
Archipelagian
get it.
pasta, come on.
No, I'm Archipelago. I hate you guys.
The Archipelago is the entrance to the Bellagio Hotel. Okay.
Yes, yeah. It's the archipelago part that screws me up every time. At any rate, I feel like Velamris would say, well, there's an eatery not far from our domiciles, our barracks, our homes, whatever. Perhaps if we go in there and order some food and be pleasant guests, perhaps we can gain some recognition. I don't know if there's any other. I don't know if outright asking to see the local boss is the right way to go, but surely they know where we are or who we're with.
You said they deal in influence, right?
Yes.
I wonder
how. I don't.
They
think
might be interested in some of the things that we have to sell, to be honest.
I find it unlikely that we, as a trio, an unlikely trio in any other circumstance than the one that we're in, would show up there and not be known for who we are, who we represent.
Well, let's go get something to eat then.
Okay.
Rassie, you hungry? When he asked that, he knows the answer. And it was a dumb question to ask, but he's going to ask it anyway, as if to imply, "Are you coming?"
Yeah, he just adjusts the aviators and looks over and says, "Always."
Exactly. All right, and then I'm going to leave a note for Liturgical and tell him we're going to go get something to eat, and page us or something if he wants us to bring anything back from him.
This is my last lunch with you guys for a couple of weeks, because I'm going to make sure that I go meet with the lab half an hour before lunch every day. So if our meeting goes over, he loses on lunch break.
That's the passive aggressive that y'all were talking about last week, or whatever week it was that was brought up in Pendragon.
Liturgical asked you to get a 6-pack of Narajis, which are a local fruit to the Iron Archipelago, which only grow in this void-blasted, barren rockscape.
Okay. Should we be looking at, like, are they better when they're softer, firmer, any particular color, size? Like, when
All
actually get you the
Narahis
right
are
ones?
the same color. It's somewhere between red and yellow.
Okay.
So like
are,
an
they,
orange.
are they like is there a ripe, less ripe version? You know?
I prefer the version that's fully ripened. Yeah.
Okay. And how can you tell?
Just
They're a little
ask.
softer.
They'll get it for you.
Okay. All right.
They're slightly softer, but more dense.
Nice.
I prefer maximum pulp.
Okay. Fine. Look, I get advantage on kissing up, so.
That's right.
And that is the true secret on how to manage up.
You take a short drive in a company bus vehicle that is half of a servitor torso, and a short walk later from the drop-off at your domiciles. You find yourself going from a busy street, cutting down a side street, to it's got a nice sign of like an obese man with a stained apron that has like some sort of noodle on it with like red sauce, and he's almost got like half of a piggish face and like happily eating at something on a spork, and it just says, you know, the ice methods local. I don't know.
Local 401.
I didn't know we were going to go to the restaurant. For some reason, I assumed you would seek them out and go to their place. But all right, here we go.
No, we just find the local bodega and we're set.
Yeah, the local bodega. You go inside. The floor is kind of sticky and linoleum-y. The tables look like they haven't been wiped very often. They all
That's how you know it's a good place.
They have the Pizza Hut red pebbled plastic glass cups.
Yes.
They're napkin holders and like salt, sugar, and red pepper flakes at every table. When you come in, a very large, like half ogren guy is just like, sit anywhere you want, but his back is to you. There's nobody else in here in the middle of the day, which seems weird because it's lunchtime.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have a seat.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Do we have menus? Or is it posted like up on the? Or is it
You'll
posted
take
up
what
on the
we
walls?
serve. Okay. We don't have
Sure.
menus.
And this is where Velamris has lack of fellowship. She's just like, sure, and he'll sit down and wait. And then he'll like under his breath towards Holly, be like, all right, I guess you're up.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's wait for food to be served. That's what happens.
Oh,
So you get-
I'm looking forward to the food. Let's not interrupt that.
You get 3 plates of meatballs in red sauce with a pile of noodles next to it. That's all. There's no presentation. It's like me posting in the food channel. It's just slopped on the plate unceremoniously. He sets it down. The only utensil he hands each of you is a decently cleaned spork.
I want to interject real quick. It can't be a spork. It has to be a skork. It's a skull.
It's still a spork, but it has not with this organization. They're not Imperium based.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So
There's no
it's going to be a
skull in it.
method then. It's a little lizard thing.
Oh my god. He leaves you your food, and then he heads into the back room, and a man comes out. He's wearing a all black bodysuit with like gray epaulets at the top, and he's got on like a trilby hat. And he moves to sit down across from you guys, and he opens up a data slate and starts reading from it. He's just like, I can tell you boys aren't from around here.
Rassie just looks up to acknowledge with like a mouthful of food and just like starts getting the next bit ready to shove in.
That's good stuff, isn't it? I can tell you got a healthy appetite. Just like my grandmother used to make it around here.
We are. You're right. We're not. We are new to the archipelago, and we are looking to make some contacts with important people.
How'd you learn about this place?
Well,
Velamris will kind of just he'll poke his head up a little bit as he's eating. He's not shoveling food as fast as Rassie, but he's definitely a little bit hungry, so he's enjoying the food. And it's not bad food, so he's going to eat it. But he'll pull it up, and he's like, if you know where to look, the signs are always easy to see.
He narrows his eyes at you suspiciously.
Not creepy.
Okay.
It just eats a little bit more.
Well, this fine establishment is law-abiding.
Oh, we didn't think that was the. We had no impression that was not the case at all. That's not our concern at all. We said we heard that there was a group that operated in this area that has we have a very positive feeling about the reputation of, and we are looking to make contacts. We have services we are both looking to buy and to sell, and we figured that we would reach out to the powers that be.
So he stops, cracks his neck both ways, cracks his back, and he says, "Look, I get it. You enjoy the food here, and I appreciate that. My grandmother's spirit appreciates that too. But let me say this," he says as he rolls his cuffs up. "You think I'm some sort of fucking idiot? You come in here with your floating skull sitting outside watching everything. You got a guardsman here with like 4 grenades on his chest. You got a sister coming in here with her staff. And this guy who says, 'Ooh, I want to make some contacts. I know some stuff.' You might as well be holding up a fucking rosette, okay? You think I don't know an inquisitorial team when I see one? I wasn't born yesterday. This is a law-abiding establishment. You got fucking nothing on us, okay?"
I mean, it's an offense to claim to be an inquisitorial agent, and I'm not willing to commit that offense.
What a callback to earlier. To pre-stream. Oh, the audience will never get it. So you say you're not an inquisitorial agent, Miss Sister?
The skull out there, I think, is, but that's why we didn't bring him in. We're here representing the Darkwind dynasty.
Oh, okay. The plot thickens.
Yeah,
I think Rassie looks up and just sort of like says, "The grenades are because the tunnel snakes are pissed," and then just like sticks more food in his mouth.
The tunnel snakes, is that what they're calling themselves these days? You get involved in some interesting people. Well, can I assume then that you are official representatives of the Darkwind Trading House?
Velamris is going to poke up. He's like, "We don't have business cards, if that's what you mean." And then he'll go back to eating.
Well, let me say this, Mr. I don't have business cards. You owe a fucking debt. Where's the fucking bodies?
Is this the one sec, there was bodies of a xenoform that was supposed to be delivered to someone, wasn't there?
Hey, you said xenoform, not me. Okay? This is a legal establishment inside of the Imperium on Cites Delta. All right? You want to have a conversation about so-called alleged xenoform bodies? Let's take a ride. Let's go someplace else. Someplace that isn't held by the Imperium.
If it
all right?
Make you
You're not going to get me on tape. It's not happening. Okay? I need you to understand that. It's not happening.
All right, well, if it would make you feel more comfortable but I mean, but you're saying that Lord Captain Darkwind hasn't met his side of an agreement.
There is a debt that is owed by the Chaderius Darkwind Trading House, okay? Where's the fucking bodies were owed? We sent a guy. He didn't come back. That's a problem. That's after several messages to our point of contact. You are in what some might call arrears.
But I think we're trying to find a way to work that out.
Rassie, just The last team died.
Hey,
We're trying to figure these things out so we can
I
get on the right side of
understand.
stuff.
I need you to also understand that that is not my fucking problem. Okay?
I think I've started to understand that.
It's
We're just
your
trying to figure
problem.
out. Just want to figure out what does or doesn't need to happen to make sure that we're back on the right side of things. That's all.
Okay,
So
well, let me tell you this. That was a final notice kind of deal. Okay, so the debt needs to be paid now.
so are you associated then with Captain Ilaraz?
I don't know who that is.
I'm just going back through my notes just to.
I assume you've like pulled up actual notes that you're flipping
Yeah, that's
through.
right. Yeah,
It's like, I don't know who that is. Listen,
all right. Then no, don't
Mr.
worry about it.
Katari dealt with a lot of different people. Whoever you think you're talking about, that's not it.
Been getting that a lot lately.
Well,
Looks like-
maybe if we go on a ride, we can be a bit more specific and
Okay, sure. I'll tell you what. We'll bring you out some nice dessert, okay? My aunt's recipe. And then the three of you, you leave your little skull friend behind, and we go on a little trip outside of Imperium territory. We'll go see the boss. He'll explain everything to you.
I don't think we can leave him behind, can we?
I mean, are you telling this guy that, or are you asking
Well,
the rest of the group?
Well, yeah, I'm saying that. I don't think we can leave him behind unless let's try to ditch him.
The skull through the door, like through the window, is just like,
should we tell him about the skull?
he can see the skull. He
Yeah,
mentioned the skull earlier.
I've already pointed
Yeah,
out
yeah.
it might have been the Imperium.
Yeah.
It might have been Inquisition. Yeah. Look, we've got a pass, but that doesn't mean anyone else that we talk to does. And I don't think we can. I don't think our pass extends to ditching the skull. So we might have to go away and work out our side of things first before we have a deeper conversation on this.
That doesn't work for me. Final notice is a little bit more final in this situation. Why don't you finish your meal? I'll get the dessert and I'll call a transport over.
I think Rassie's going to wait for him to get up.
He gets up. He goes into the back. Rassie
Well-
immediately just runs out the front door.
No. Rassie just looks at the other two and says, I mean, the skull can't follow everybody.
That would require one of us to stay behind.
The skull hovers ominously in the window right next to Rassie.
This is also sounding perilously close to a one-way trip if we don't play our cards right.
Yeah, I mean, look, the skull might not come, but what was Rebur
Yeah.
may still be around, but
I mean, if
I
it
don't
makes them feel any better, whoever goes, I mean, I have no intention of not just coming back and giving a full debrief. I mean, that makes them feel better to think that that nobody's going to find out. Then cool, they can feel better about it. But I mean, I'm no traitor.
Wonder if maybe Rassie, maybe you should go with the sister and make sure she comes back. I'll see what I can do about distracting the skull. Is that an
The
option?
skull turns to look at you when you say that through the glass.
I mean, look, we obviously haven't brought bodies with us, so if they want to go, if they're saying this is the final last time I talked about, then presumably they're looking to make some sort of example.
Well, I'm just thinking, Holly, you're the face person here, the one with the gifts of gab and all that. If there's any deals to be made, I feel like you should be the one to spearhead that. And then Rassie,
I don't
all
think
his
they're
guns
looking
and
to-
grenades.
I think
Just in
they're looking to
case.
make deals. I think a deal's been made that hasn't been honoured in their mind, and so
And unless we know more about what it is that they're looking to have delivered, we can't deliver. We might even have these things and just have no idea that that's what they're looking for, unless
It's
they
not-
tell us exactly what they're looking for.
And they're not going to tell us here, and they're not going to tell us with the skull around.
I mean, there was only one note on Qatari's thing about bodies, and no mention of the methods.
The guy comes back out with 3 slices of cake, and he puts it down, and he says, "You got to try this stuff, okay? It's got the corpse starch in layers. I know what you're thinking. It's sweetened with sugar, and then in order to expand the flavor palette between those layers, we use a little sprinkled recaf beans. Okay, it's excellent. Try it."
Rassie's eating.
Our ride will be here in 5 minutes.
I push it. So I've had some of the meatballs, but not the pasta from before. And I pushed this dessert to the side, saying, "I had a very starchy breakfast."
Rassie's just going to eat.
I think, Velamris is definitely going to try the cake. I think the recaf beans sprinkled on it is what sold him.
It tastes like heavily sweetened corpse starch covered in coffee powder.
So it tastes exactly the way you made it sound. Awesome.
Yeah, Rassie's like, man, this is a great cake. Like, this is good.
My aunt would love you. She would kiss you on your forehead and give you a blessing.
Well, bless the Emperor and bless your aunt. This is fantastic.
You can tell that he's about to say something that will severely blaspheme the God Emperor, and then he remembers where he is, and he just chooses not to. At the appointed time, he leads you through the back of the kitchen, whoever is going.
Yeah, I think we need to figure that out real quick.
Rassie's willing to go.
Yeah, Velamris is willing to go as well, but we got to keep the skull out, is my understanding.
Well, I mean, I feel like the skull want to go with the largest group of people as well. If it's people are splitting up.
Rassie's down to go.
When you three are discussing who's going to go and where the skull's going to go, the skull suddenly and just disappears up out of view.
Okay.
Well, that was easy, I think.
All right.
I guess we're all going.
Yep.
I'm sure that'll be bad for us later.
Yeah.
You make your way through the back of the kitchen, and you see a series of docking ports also built into the side. This is not for like massive Imperium ships, but for small shuttles. They lead you into an airlock shuttle bay area where there's a nice silvery, I want to say it's episode 1 Nubian-ish style. It definitely looks fancy and flashy without actually being either of those things. 100% all looks, no substance.
As you oil the tires.
As you go inside, we see, this guy, the 3 of you, the skull clearly just hides in the engine block and just jams itself back in there. As the door is preparing to shut, we watch a 4th figure that was above the silvery material pull off a chameleon line cloak and then swing down inside, closing the door behind them into the shuttle.
So there's two of the methods with us, and the skull is hidden somewhere in the engine block. Got it.
There is one Mephit with you, and the pilot.
And I'm thinking Rebirth.
And an inquisitorial agent who has been caught on camera several times following you that none of you have ever actually seen. About 30 minutes later, you pass the rogue traders. Like, you could see projections of like what you're passing on the outside from inside through like holographic screens with strange technology that's kind of near Imperium-ish, but more suitably like less gothic, less sort of square and destructive-ish, and more just kind of I want to say home-ish, like personal touch to it. And you can see a projection of the Rogue Traders floating mansion, which at least one of you has been to. As you go past it, there's just a large series of asteroids and rocks out here. You head towards one of the smaller ones. Still quite big. I mean, it can easily house thousands of people, but it's nothing like CTA's Beta, Gamma, or Delta. As you land there, you are led through a series of corridors full of humans, Xenos, servitors, strange machines. This is some real, for you all, this is the Mos Eisley experience. When you set foot on this rock, you're not in the Imperium anymore. There's no guardsmen you can call to help you here. There's no arbites, there's no law. It's clear that while you're here, the ice methods are running the show on this particular rock. And they all wear their distinctive trilby hat, although each of them has, their own personal style, which appears to be very important to the people of this rock. You find yourself in a chamber before a wildly obese man who very clearly inspired the bodega's sign. He looks a little bit older than on that sign. His jowls are kind of huge and jiggly now. He's got a very serious double chin. His teeth seem kind of elongated, and his smile is wider than would be normal for a sort of genetically correct Imperium citizen human. He also has some sort of strange choker necklace on as well. And he says, "So, you've come, representatives of Chaderius Darkwind. You can see none of this sates my hunger. Where are the bodies?"
So we can speak freely now that we're outside of the...
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. Sure.
All right. So I want to make sure that what we've been doing aligns with what we know aligns with what you know. We believe there was a deal to transact 12,000 Torashar corpses. Was that what you're looking for?
I don't care if they're Torashar or Drakari. I just need the bodies. 12,000? That's... I didn't pay for anything like that.
Okay. So
I ordered 12, and I want them now. When you remain silent, he starts bending the spork in his hand, and it groans as the metal deforms in his fat hands, and he says, "I need them now." And he takes a deep breath.
So we're obviously not carrying 12 corpses with us. And we came on behalf of the Road Trade Association looking to make a deal. Apparently a deal was made before, not involving us, which we know nothing about. So we right now can't help you sort that deal out.
Okay.
But we can.
I have an out of character question.
Okay.
We've seen on the Archipelago Xenos moving around, right?
I think you've seen registered friendly Xenos, like the Leagues of Voton. And I think for you, Rassie, you've specifically seen greenskins and all sorts of Xenos transiting between the CTA's Alpha, the Space Hulk, and everything else. But when you're within the Imperium-held territory, it's not like there's Dark Eldar or Tau running around or anything like that. You're not going to find any Kroot mercenaries.
Okay. So while there might not be any that are our neighbors, I do know where we can find Xenos.
Oh, yes.
Relatively nearby.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Rassie will speak up then. What kind of Xenos do you need?
You can tell he's trying to keep his cool, and he snaps the spork in half all of a sudden. And he says, "My apologies. Sometimes my anger gets a hold of me. It's a real defect. I need Halo Xenos, anything from beyond the corridor. I get that you haven't been explained all of these things. It's a problem for our business relationship. I need specific types of xenoforms to help me get through this troubling situation. And he tugs at the collar around his neck and says, "You know what this is?"
In character, no.
I know out of character you know what it is, Chips.
I don't know either, so
I think Rassie just looks and says, the more you explain, the better we can help keep up our end.
Sure. So, Dinas Chaderius, who was certainly not the one who sold me this device 200 years ago. Chaderius Darkwind's parents weren't even alive then. But I've been doing business with the Darkwind Trading Company for a long time. And they bring me a regular supplement of corpses from the Halo stars that I need. The device is specifically tuned to their genetic matter. Something about the absence of the God Emperor's psychic presence helps infuse them with the particles needed to run the device. It's what I'm told. It's all above me. Been along for a really long time, and I'd like to be along for a lot longer, if you understand what I'm trying to say. I need those bodies if I'm going to keep leading my organization. Who can say what would happen to my relationship with the Darkwind Trading Company if I were to die and they were the ones responsible for my death? My family would be deeply upset. As he's talking, he's starting to rise, and you can hear as he's pressing down on the table. He's a big guy. He clearly weighs hundreds of pounds, but this table is made out of like solid ship's armor, and as he's pressing on it, you can see that cracks are forming in it. I want my bodies.
Sister, do you know what kinds of Xenos are from the Halo stars?
Well, probably any that we haven't heard of, probably.
Can you get them for me in the time frame needed?
What's the time frame?
I think I can hang in there for another 2 weeks.
And just so I understand, so this was an ongoing arrangement. This was not a part of a single deal where you provide something, we provide something. You just get this from.
I receive regular shipments in exchange for payments.
So what payments are they?
You don't know?
Assume that we are ignorant of the entirety of this deal.
I'll tell you.
We want to get the problem solved for you.
You bring me the materials I'm owed, and I'll hand over the payments you will be owed. And we can discuss negotiating the deal from then.
Can you tell us what payments we're owed? We'll take your word for it.
Right now, you're not owed anything.
Okay, so this is not just a failure to make an arrangement. This is a deal in arrears.
I believe my man used the actual word arrears earlier, he says, looking directly at the camera. He wasn't there. He wouldn't know that. But I did use the word arrears.
I mean, I don't mind going on a hunting expedition. I just need to know what we're bagging.
anything from the Halo stars, it would seem. Do you need them living when they're delivered?
I prefer them fresh. Dead is fine as long as it's fresh. It tastes better.
A lot of things taste better when they're fresh. Arguably all things.
Is there like a lore roll or something? Rassie's sitting here trying to figure out what this means.
Yeah, I mean, this is all basically super forbidden knowledge. I'll let you make the roll. I mean, you're only going to get the most big, like, you can't get specifically forbidden knowledge unless you have the forbidden knowledge talent. So I'll give you, like, the sort of, I mean, if you look through your Imperial Infantry Primer, the words Halo device are not going to appear anywhere in them. sort of thing. But I'll let you make a lore roll, and I'll give you some very vague basic information. Astounding. An astounding failure, sir.
At least it's not a critical failure.
You are actually dumbstruck by this conversation. You're like, I cannot follow anything that's happening right now.
The whole room feels dumb after you're thinking about it.
Yeah. Rassie really wants to help, but it's just too dumb.
Can I make that lore roll now?
Yeah,
As well?
go ahead. We're doing the D&D thing where we all roll D20s and hope someone hits a 20.
Yeah.
I don't get any special.
Absolutely. Do you have
anything.
forbidden knowledge?
I do not. The closest
Well,
I have is the deep delving, but there's no archive or records or anything like that right now. So,
Okay.
Well,
What specifically would you like to know about this situation? I will give you a vague answer to one question.
I am curious about the choker, as it were, and the connection between his sustenance. What I'm assuming, and Velamris is assuming some form of sustenance.
I think that you've heard stories in the same way that you would hear about Grimm's fairy tales about things that bad Imperial citizens who want to live longer. People that either can't afford Rejuvenat treatments or are at the edge of what Rejuvenat can do. You know, you hit about 600 years, you really want to stay alive. There's not many options beyond becoming an incredibly powerful psyker or selling your soul to chaos. And, you know, you probably don't know very much about either of those things. You know that there are some ways to stay alive as long as possible, but they're beyond most normal humans. But there are things from the cold trade that occasionally show up and let people eat other people and basically steal their life force.
Okay. I think Velamris is, he'll just say, you know, if we can bring him in live, would that give us any special advantages in continuing our arrangements?
I'll tell you what, if you can bring the whole dozen back alive, I'll give you 10% more. Just to show that I'm a generous individual when we renegotiate this relationship.
I'll be honest, I can't promise they'll be alive, but we will certainly make the effort. Fresh is the goal. Alive sounds like the best form of fresh.
He finally stops pressing down on the table and sits back down again, pulls his chair back up, and begins drinking out of like a 2-liter of wine. Just guzzling it down.
We know what we need to do to solve our problems, as in our combined problems. So, how do we reach you when the time comes? Just
Speak
through
to
the same
any
channels?
of my people. They'll send you to me.
We'll come and get more of the cake.
You like the cake?
It wasn't bad at all. I actually kind of enjoyed that flavor.
One of my grandnieces, 30 generations or so down, made it. It's good, right?
Yeah. I
wish
think
could
Rassie really loved it.
Yeah.
It's a take that I haven't had, and it was a good one.
It's an interesting blend of corpse starch, sugar, and coffee beans.
I don't
Or
often
recap
get
beans.
the taste anymore, but I like the texture in my mouth. It's mushy.
Yes. I think we're done here. I think we know what we need to do.
His eyes go red and his face bulges as he says, I'll tell you when we're done here.
I've been wrong before.
We're done here.
So we didn't get your name.
This is where James makes his rapport roll to gain favor or advantage or whatever the hell it is.
The name's Mephit. Michal Mephit. Would you like to make a rapport roll?
I mean, I'm not trying to make any other rolls here, so...
Just, you know, first time you've met a figure of authority with a new faction sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to influence anything right now, so...
Okay, all right.
Yeah. when the time comes, if the time comes. Like, obviously, if there's no rolls in this meeting, this is the first meeting done.
I don't think so. You've all agreed to everything he's asked for, which is to bring him some Xenos from beyond the Halo stars. Yeah, as you all file back outside, there's no one to send you anywhere. The guy who brought you here is gone. You're just left in the middle of bazaar.
I will make the roll because the influence stays until the end of the mission.
Okay.
So, in which case, it might apply to roll, but do with him when we come back. So, it's either my choice of presence or rapport. So I will go with presence.
The one that's higher. Yeah, of course.
And I will spend a fate point before the roll to make it with advantage.
This is a guy who really, really wants to keep that until the end of the mission. Yeah.
All right, I'll spend a second fate point to give you this
to crawl across the line for one additional point. All right, we're going to go on our final break right now. And when we get back, I guess we're going to find out what these guys do when they're in the middle of an ethnic market with no transport. We'll be back for the third part. Papa Oinker's Perpetual Stew. Break you off a bite. It's fun for the whole family. The most affordable prices on Crico Loire. Every bite protects our home. Well. We've got 3 individuals being followed by a servo skull that has been remotely tailing them, standing in the middle of a marketplace of non-Imperium citizens and Xenos and servitors selling, buying, trading. There doesn't seem to be any currency, just straight bargaining and haggling happening all throughout this large, cramped, small, tight-ceilinged, but wide and varied out in a distance bazaar that appears to be the centerpiece of this particular asteroid. You can hear someone loudly shouting for perpetual green stew, and plenty of people seem to be pouring into that establishment.
So now that we've been to speak freely, so just to go back to something he said. So when I mentioned Torah Shah corpses, he said he didn't mind if they were Torah Shah or Drakari. So we know at least 2 of the Xenos we can provide to him are either Torah Shah, whatever they are, or Drakari. Obviously, they don't have a problem with killing Xenos to hand over to this guy necessarily, but how we then find them and get them is probably the open question.
And they have to come from the Halo stars. Is that not what he said?
Mm.
Or was that a preferential sort of condition?
That
I
is
don't know
what
whether he means
said.
I don't know whether he means like this particular Xenos has never been into the Imperium, or whether he means that the race as a whole come from beyond the Halo stars, and so therefore the race as a whole is uninfected by whatever it is that bothers him.
It seemed to be that thing around his neck.
I will let one of you make a roll. Very difficult roll. An intuition people roll.
Well, I got 48 in that.
Sounds like you, because I only got a 33.
I have a 38.
I'll roll with advantage. What's the difficulty then going to be? Minus what? Oh, what difficulty? So
minus,
very difficult?
Yeah, sure.
So there's difficult, hard, very hard.
Very hard.
With advantage. Astounding failure. 87 or 78. You know what? I've got so much fate right now. I'm gonna re-roll that one.
How do you have so much fate?
Because I've got 4 fate normally, so I took the fated background, and I get an extra fate for this mission because of what I did as my downtime action.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, do I spend my last fate for the session to make it a success?
I feel like this could be a big deal.
Yep.
He made
Okay,
it
there we
really
go.
hard.
I will. Done. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm out of fate.
You don't know a lot about the Halo device, right? I mean, that's so far beyond a failed Sister of Battle's primary area of concern. What you know is people. And if this device does what you suspect it does, the idea that it needs specific types of Xenos is a little odd. That they need to come from an area around the, like, just that they all come from the outside. For you, the Grimdark James business sense that makes up the core of Holly is starting to tingle, and you're thinking that some rogue trader in the Chaderius Darkwind's past, the first person who made this deal, said, only I can get you the Xenos you need to keep this thing supplied, and they need to come from a place only I can get to. And it's not that they need a specific type of Xenos, anything will do, but that the lie is to keep them on the hook, which it has for at least 600 years.
All that time, he never figured it out for himself.
I mean, a man's got to eat, you know?
Yeah. If something works, why change it?
Yeah, no, that checks out.
Now, I don't know the Rogue
then,
Trader video game yet, but the idea of a rogue trader lying to keep a client on subscription service for thousands of years sounds like a pretty Rogue Trader state of mind to me.
Definitely falls in that rogue category.
And this is an interesting question: whether whatever he has actually cares whether it's actually Xenos or just alive.
What are you suggesting then? I'm
saying this in that we, take some malcontents from the streets of the archipelago, mash them up, serve them as exotic Xenos cuisine, see if he notices. Although, out of all the men I've met today, he probably seems like the most likely to have previously eaten human.
I mean, so
only by a narrow margin.
Oh, wow.
Is this a conversation we're having in character?
Yes, directly outside of this guy's house. Yeah.
I think Velamris is not going to fall for that one. Not yet. But he definitely gives a knowing look.
I think Rassie just looks at the other two and says, he tries to say quietly, I don't know what exactly I saw or was going on in there. And the more I thought about it, the less I understood. And
congratulations, you are a loyal citizen of the Emperor.
I guess what I'm worried about here is with the changes to his body and whatever's going on and hiding out here away from Imperial authority. Was he touched by the archenemy? We can't possibly help something that's been touched by the archenemy.
As you're saying that, Rassie, someone is approaching you. They are wearing a double-side signboard. They're like a walking advertisement. And they've got a soup ladle that they're pointing at you and says, yes, that's right, you, sir. You look like a hungry Imperial guardsman. Why don't you try some of Papa Oinker's perpetual stew? They're waiting for you just over there. Your first time's free. What about you, sir? He points it at you, Velamris, and he's like, Papa Oinker's perpetual stew. You'll look like you're a newcomer around here, young man.
I'm going to look at Rassie and be like, I'm not sure if the word perpetual should be in somebody's food description. And I'm going to say that quietly, so maybe this guy doesn't hear it.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, give us a moment. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do anyway. So,
all right, he turns and goes to somebody else and says, you there, madam, have you tried the stew? It's miraculous. It'll fill you right up.
I've already had a big lunch.
So, sorry, he wasn't talking to you. He was going off in a different. I love that. That's canon now. And then he says the same thing to another woman.
Okay. Isn't there actually in real life like a stew you can do where you keep the stew constantly going?
It's called a perpetual stew.
Yeah, you keep adding more to it. That's right.
It's a food preservation method. As long as you keep the meat in there above boiling temperature consistently, and you're constantly adding more ingredients, it's preserved forever. There's perpetual stew, I believe, one in Japan that's been going since 1945 continuously.
Jesus Christ.
There's a eternal pile of stock, which is where, you like boil meat into broth in New York that's been going since the 30s. But that's not called perpetual stew. I believe that's called a master stock. It's quite similar.
Yeah, Rassie asked the question. He's looking for some kind of answer.
Well, I'm no
I
expert.
mean,
Clearly, there's some dark sidedness going on here, but I don't know if necessarily the arch enemy. I don't. Did you use the word arch enemy?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My statement stands then.
I mean, yeah. I think it's easy to assume that Xenos Heresy and Chaos Heresy are two completely separate things, but I guess they can cross. But
They're still heresy.
yeah, I mean the Rogue Trader's warrant gives him right to track with Xenos. It does not give him right to track with the demonic. So we'd have to assume that we have to hope that the original Darkwind that did this deal did their homework.
At any rate,
I mean, do we trust that that thing was telling the truth about that?
Well, my preference of what to do next would be to go back to the office and see if we can find any information about this deal. You know, see if I can confirm my suspicions about the Xenos as a service model.
I'm glad someone got that. I'm so glad someone got that.
well, shall we?
Uh,
Do we want to eat now, or will we wait until we get back?
I think
Didn't
until
you
might
just
take
eat half an hour ago?
I don't know how long this trip took to get here. I wasn't paying attention to the time, and it might be a moment or
I
two
mean,
before we get
that's-
another ride back.
You said it was a half an hour trip.
yeah, that stew smells
Oh.
good though.
And the GM does keep wanting to push us into the stew shop.
So almost certainly the second commercial break will be for Papa Oinker's perpetual stew. So
There you go.
You know, I guess until we get some sort of verification that, you know, one of the Rogue Trader's ancestors did set this deal up, I wouldn't want to expose myself to something that might be corrupting.
Well, we have a sister with us. If
I
there
am
is
just gonna
corruption,
remind
perhaps she
you-
can.
Liturgical has told you you have a blanket pardon from the Inquisition for anything you do in pursuit of your rogue traderly duties.
Right.
But this is
It
still
doesn't mean he
corruption of
wants
his
to
own
eat
soul.
something corrupting.
I understand. Yeah.
And
But
one
we
thing
do know.
I feel like it's like, yeah, dealing with Xenos, okay, you know, worshipping the dark powers, you know, not good.
It's one thing to do something illegal. It's another when I come out of it and I'm physically tainted.
Sure.
Yeah. I think we head back.
Well, okay, before we leave though, this is a marketplace. Is there anything we want to try and acquire here?
Oh, I wonder if I can get my armor I've been looking for.
Well, remember that you can't just trade solars. So I guess it depends on what you think you can offer.
Ooh.
I was more thinking about whether we can try and find any leads on any of the stuff we're actually looking for here.
Let's go with that because I don't have anything to trade with my armor or for the
But
armor.
I don't know. I mean, I'm interested not in having a meal of the perpetual stew, but I want to see what this perpetual stew actually is. Because when I think about ways to feed a lot of people for a lot of time on a ship, potentially a soup bowl, whichever runs out, could be a way of doing that. But if it's just a regular, boring, you know, can they keep adding spices and heat to, then...
Well, I
Wait,
mean, we can
they
definitely
did-
go take a look.
all right.
They have
So-
spices in it?
Which one of you has a
I don't-
cast iron? Which one of you has a cast iron stomach? I'm looking at you here, Rassie.
I mean,
Would you be willing to take some stew for the team if I offer you a benediction of blessing afterwards to make sure that your soul and stomach are safe?
Yeah, that works.
All right, we'll call the hawker back.
Hey,
Sir, my friend here would
Yes?
like to try the stew.
Oh, sure. First bowl's free.
I'm looking forward to becoming a customer.
Great. Let's get you in there. Say, pal, you do business in Macarian Solars, right? Just know, when you come back for the next delicious bowl, we do accept Solars as a currency here.
All right.
Velamris is going to do finger guns and be like, got it. Sounds
You
good.
want a bowl too, sir?
Why not? First one's free.
Sure.
Free is one of my favorite
Hey.
4-letter words.
And for 10 solars, we can take you on the tour of the kitchen so you can see how it's made.
I'll look over at Rassie for that one.
I pulled
Or
up
no, I'm
10
sorry. I
solars.
meant Holly. I was even looking at James on the screen.
I mean that whole conversation we had before Rassie said, "Sure, let's do this." Like, yeah, I mean, Rassie pulls out 10 solars.
I'd certainly I'd like the tour, certainly.
Okay. The three of you each spend 10 solars. You're all given like a meal ticket number, and then they lead you through. You can see that there's like a green stew that's very meaty. It has a sort of mushroomy, umami smell to it. The meat kind of seems like it's been carved off of the bone, and you can see that there are some larger than human bones kind of brothing in that bad boy.
Yeah, this is definitely orc stew.
It's they take you James got there. They take you to the garden out back where you can see that they have like a lot of fertilizer set up, and they fertilize the area, and then when a orc appears, they kill the orc, and as it dies, it spreads fungal spores, and more orcs will show up as long as they keep feeding it fertilizer, and then they put the dead orc body in the perpetual stew pot.
So I've eaten this before we did the tour, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't eat that. I was a DD, so.
Yeah. Did Velamris also eat his free bowl?
Yeah, he did. And the idea that he's actually eating orc is I've got a 33 toughness. I don't know.
I
if
love
I'm
that
gonna
the
keep
two of you
down.
are really questionable about this, and the other people on the tour with you are all like, "Oh, that's why it tastes so good, so meaty." You're like, "What the hell are these people talking about?" Everybody's just like, "Wow, this is a brilliant plan."
I feel like the best part would be if, like, when we ate it before we went on the tour, it was absolutely amazing, and we're going into like, "Oh, this is gonna be great." Like, so how was the stew before we went in and saw how
I
it was
mean,
made?
it tastes a lot like liquid corpse starch because it is.
I love the fact that it's only a perpetual stew because if they stop cooking it, then orcs are going to start springing up.
Yeah, I do love. I think if anything, Velamris would definitely recognize the business model at hand and be like, "This is actually pretty ingenious," except for the part where it's almost cannibalism.
Yeah.
You just need an unlimited supply of fertilizer to keep the orcs from popping
There you
up.
go.
This
I
goes
mean,
back to
given that they're orcs, are we technically eating a vegan bowl right now? Like,
Yeah, it is a vegan meal, sure.
yeah.
this goes back to Arthur's suggestion that ghosts can't exist because if ghosts existed, then that would be an unlimited source of how the corporation would use. Like, once again, if you had an infinitely regenerating bioform, 100% people would turn into some sort of either fuel or food.
I'm glad you understand the way my mind works.
But this is why it's heresy too, because big corpse starch doesn't want you to know about the infinitely regenerating orcs.
Where do you think they're getting it all from? Yeah, so at the end of the tour, you get to meet Papa Oinkers, who's like a short man with a cane, who's wearing a giant mushroom-shaped hat, and he's just like, "Well, that's the tour for all of you. Every day out here, we feed over 3,000 people passing through the area. The 20 of you sure look pretty sharp to my eyes, I gotta tell you. You're the best customers I've had in here all day. And next time you want to come back, just know it's only 5 solars for another bowl of stew. It'll fill you right up." You can get your picture taken with him and, a handshake. He signs it as well. It's some real Flavor Town shit.
I have a question for you, Papa Oinkers. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Young lady in the back there. Yes, what's going on with you? Whoa, got the full-on sisters deal going on here. Whoa.
If you had a significant supply of an additional protein, say Quiltus porcine, how far could you stretch this to?
This really sounds like a conversation we should be having in my office after I get done here. Do you want to step out of line for a few minutes?
All right.
And let me just finish taking some pictures here with this nice grandmother and her 2 kids. 5 minutes later, the 3 of you find yourself seated across in a very cramped office area that has, physical, our current generation of like filing cabinets and such. It's not filled with parchment. It's filled with, with manila folders, everything stacked. The office things, the file cabinets are all just a little, like they look like they're bulging from too much papers in there. He's taking off his hat and he goes, well, okay, let's talk business here. You're telling me you got a secondary source of protein you can get out to this rock? What's all that about?
I mean, let me tell you about my actual situation. Maybe we can find a way to work for each other. So I need to feed a small army for a significant period of time.
How small?
About, was it 400,000? 400,000.
290,000. But yeah, you say small army. He's like, 290,000 is not a small army. like 2,000 is a small army. But okay, 290,000. All right, I got you. What's going on here?
Well, we need to organize food, provisions, etc. for 6 months.
Okay.
And for space travel, and I do have access to 2 million head of Krul's porcine. That I just think that if you try to give an army pork products every meal, 3 days a meal, 3 meals a day for 6 months, they'd probably get pretty sick.
Yeah, I have to tell you, vegetable isn't an official scientific terminology, but yeah, you got to get your veggies in there as well. I've seen your Imperium nutrition charts. Everybody's got to have at least 3 servings of cornstarch a day, and then they want you to get some breads and also some meats and a lot of veggies. You got to get your fiber.
Yeah, and you seem to have. You're obviously an excellent cook and a very resourceful man.
Thank you.
And I was wondering whether there was some way that we could take our resources, your resources, combine them together, meet our needs, and feed your business.
Well, how do you propose turning Krul's porcine, which is the actual name of the animal you're talking about, not pork, and somehow combining it with my perpetual stew?
Well, your perpetual stew seems to have more than just protein in it. It seems to be this fungus material.
Yeah, of course. It's pure orc.
Yeah.
We get them green.
I don't know whether that would add what the nutritional value is like of combining these two together.
Oh, I've got a chart right here. If you just give me a minute to look through it all. I got all the macro calories calculated out and such. Do you want that in high Gothic or low Gothic?
Whatever you prefer. Low Gothic, there you go.
Low Gothic, okay, there we go. All right, he gets you out a, pie chart with a breakdown of, like, fats, of which there's a surprisingly small amount, proteins, other macronutrients, surprisingly high in magnesium, actually, on a per cup basis of stew.
Okay, but so are we missing anything then? Like from a purely nutritional level, is there something else we need other than orc stew porcine product? Is there anything else that we need to add in to make this into a?
I think you probably will want a few carbs, but let me ask you this: this army you're talking about, I suspect you're not going to put 290,000 people on one of our asteroids out here. It's not going to.
No. This is for an expeditionary fleet going beyond the edge of the Imperium. We're here on behalf of Chaderius Darkwind, the rogue trader.
Well, okay.
Sorry, wait a sec. Does he owe you something?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Does he owe me something? I've never talked to Chaderius Darkwind in my life.
Okay, good. All right. So what you were saying, sir.
Okay. Let me tell you about this. All right. I've got a few sons and daughters. What if I open a franchise on one of your ships? You provide us with the porcine and a constant supply of the fertilizer we need, and a regular stream of either bullets or knives, and we will provide you with fully equipped kitchen and keep all of the lower decks fed.
Okay. I pull out my writing kit. I'm just going to write us up a memorandum of understanding. This is not a formal contract. I understand. We're just, and obviously...
We're just talking.
an NDA will follow, of course. So,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, right. All right. So I start to jot down what this would look like, in terms of what else we need to find to make this actually work. No, and once again, it's only an MOU. We're not committing to anything right now. We are just two business people looking to make a connection.
So his proposal is basically whatever you do, you get the Crueltis Porcine to him and the ships. You get some of his family members and some of his staff, which he's going to expand out and franchise. And they will essentially provide kitchen services, which will fully just be like some sort of like corpse starch, orc, and Crueltis Porcine for 100% of your daily value of needs. It will certainly be a step down in the flavor category and of food quality, but it will be cheap and plentiful.
But can we also add in if we can find exotics aside this, we one meal a day add in some sort of ice cream or
he's fully if you want to micro negotiate on those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and also I'm happy to help him with his branding. Because obviously he needs to go not just beyond not just outward from the Imperium, but into the Imperium as well. And part of that involves having the right marketing.
Let me tell you something. They don't let us serve this in the Imperium. There's some sort of health problems with ingesting orcs.
Okay. All right. Well, in any case, we'll make sure that everyone that can have Papa Oinker's
perpetual stew
should be able to.
Everyone
that can legally eat it should be eating it. So.
Unfortunately, the Administratum, we don't meet their OSHA standards for health and food safety.
Oh, I happen to have a friend here who is from the Administratum who knows how to.
You can bend those rules for me? How highly ranked are you in the organization?
Well, first, let's be clear. Bending the rules isn't quite the same as making sure the correct information gets reported on the paperwork so that the rules are not so strict. I'm not saying to lie.
It's not about how high up you are in the Administratum. It's about what paperwork you handle.
Yes.
Now look, I tried to expand into the Imperium before. It was a costly venture, but you guys seem pretty trustworthy. You think you can get me over there on Cetes Delta? I'm willing to back you. I've got a good feeling about you. This really feels like a fated meeting.
All right.
I still want Velamris to clap Rassie on the back and be like, we had some, and we're just fine.
Yeah, of course you are. Look, the standards are too strict. I'm telling you, you got to know that the people making corpse starch, they're just, you seem like a good Imperial Guardsman. I'm going to let you a little secret behind the corpse starch is mostly just orc and dead humans. They just grind it up and put it all together into a sort of powdery paste that you can put some water into. I'm sure you've had it 100 million times. No, my stew is that, but it's just more flavorful. You got the umami. We put some seasoning in there. It's got a rich, flavorful broth to it. Liquids go down easier.
Rassie's just nodding like,
yeah, off my hand. I think that we can do business, and I look forward to working out the details of this with you in the coming weeks.
Okay. I want to secure all of this in a sort of meta narrative over the coming weeks with a haggle roll or some sort of negotiation.
I don't want to roll because I'm out of fate.
I didn't make you spend all of your fate chasing the
Can
halo.
I give him a fate point? Is that an option?
No, but you can make a roll.
I will.
You don't want me haggling.
I'll haggle. It's a coin toss for me.
Okay.
Well, first I'm going to do is I'm going to try my rapport with him because it's first time.
Yes.
There it is. Now the bullshit begins.
Okay, that succeeds. Okay. So
you should have made the roll there though.
Okay, so haggle with +1 SL.
What's haggle? What?
It's a specialty of rapport.
Okay.
Which I have. And I've got I have a thing which affects haggle too, which is deal maker. All right, if I make a successful intuition people test, I can do this roll with advantage.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'll make that first. No, okay. So I'm just rolling the haggle.
He's inscrutable.
Yeah. Is it regular challenging, or is it something he really wants to do? That
No,
we
it's
might
regular. It's just
James trying to get another advantage.
Yay! Okay,
he
plus
didn't
3.
need it. He didn't need it. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Look, moving the Cultus porcine, that's on your group.
That's the hard bit still. Yeah, I know.
That's on your group to do. And I believe you only promised him 2 million, and I think there were 5 million. But yeah, like
no, there was 2 million.
Oh, it's 2 million.
But I wasn't saying he would get all 2 million. I was saying that
whatever we don't 2 million porcine on this fleet.
Yeah, whatever we don't need in order to produce the food for the fleet, he can have to because I worked out like based upon average pigs, you can feed like 700,000 people on 2 million. But yeah.
So
the rest.
he'll send you the numbers he needs for a estimated deployment. You'll bring that in, and then he'll bring what's the kind? A sourdough starter, an orc starter of soil, and, start spreading it everywhere in a special green room filled with fertilizer, and just start growing orcs and then murdering them as they come into existence.
So we shake hands, and then I wipe my hand on Rassie's shoulder.
Okay, perfect.
On his
unbelievable. Okay, well, this was going to be a throwaway joke commercial, and
now it's a real
technically,
thing.
if you can solve the transportation problem, this will be the second of the 6-month goals you need to get. Unbelievable that we did that in a 30-minute aside as a joke. Well, the main flux of this episode has been, hey, I want to eat people.
AP, always be closing. ABC.
That's that Grimdark James energy.
Cookies are for closers.
All right. I mean, his kids go out and are, like, hey, we're gonna need to train people for the business. We're expanding up. We need to train people to murder orcs or ladle a stew pot in numbers necessary to feed 290,000 people. So it's a lot of murder and a lot of ladling. They start hiring for training based on loans and the assumption that this deal will go through, so long as you uphold your end of the bargain.
Yeah.
You're still here hours later when you finally closed.
Yeah, okay. Well, we need to try and find a way to get back to CT's Delta. No, Beta. CT's Beta is where I think isn't it?
You're on Delta. Delta is where the Rogue Trader's based.
Okay.
You wouldn't happen to have a family member that could transport us to Delta, do you?
Oh, CT's Delta?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Listen, I don't have a family member, but, I know a lot of people around here. I'm sure I could get one of the work crews heading over there for the mines. Yeah. You got 2 hours to kill?
Indeed.
Yeah.
How do you feel about square dancing?
Is that where you
Never done it.
Circle?
Never done it. Let's do it.
It's where you dance in a circle, yes.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah, that's right. The answer is just never done it. Let's do it.
Okay, so you hang out with various members of his family throughout the bazaar, where they teach you the ferret dance, where you dance by wiggling forward and then hopping twice, clapping, then moving to the side, doing the same thing in a square over and over again. You have a partner who is mirrored in the opposite direction, moving with you, and you swap partners as you move around.
All right, so AP, we have now won a breakdance against Lisa Votan. We've done square dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, can we make? We got to keep this trope going. We need to have more dancing opportunities in this campaign. I'm asking you as a GM to continue to do that. Okay.
I want to roll.
All right.
I want to roll to see how good you are at dancing here. What did we use last time?
think it was
Reflexes, I
athletics.
believe.
Okay, go ahead.
I might. No, it's athletics. It was athletics. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He has
Look, you know how
athletics.
Stargate Atlantis ended every episode with a really sad song that was super emo that would show off like a new song track at the end of every episode? The dancing is like that.
All right. I feel like this is the first time I've met these people.
Oh my god. I'm surprised I haven't exploded through my roof at this point.
No, okay,
Of 2 floors.
Okay, no, I don't. I square dance forward.
I mean, the ferret dance is way too hard for you. There's so much movement involved.
Could I make an argument because it's following specific instructions that I could roll discipline?
Oh my god. Okay, if you do, you will be deemed a super dork. You'll be able to do it, but in the way of someone that...
I'm rolling
it's
athletics.
good.
His movement.
You know what I'm
his
talking
movements
about,
are
Concentrating
all
way too hard.
Yeah, this is super try hard shit. You're very stiff while dancing, but you can get it done.
Okay, then I'm going to roll athletics.
Okay.
Hey,
he doesn't want to be a
the dance
tryhard.
stroke continues.
I mean, look, you've got the ferret shimmy as you're going forward, and people congratulate you for being an outsider who's capable of getting it first try.
Hmm.
I
Meanwhile,
also
Holly's
would like
asking,
to,
what actually is a dozy do?
I'm gonna roll now. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I spend the fate before I roll, I get advantage
You
on the
can
roll.
take advantage, yes.
All right, I'm gonna do that then.
Yep, okay. Well, you didn't need it because you rolled a 9,
No.
brother.
I
right.
make it look good.
You stand above all the rest. You get in there. It's not just that you've got the shoulder movement. You've got the hip movement, but you have the secret to the ferret walk. And that's the feet shuffle. All right? The rest of these motherfuckers are sliding their feet along the floor, barely getting any air. You've got the stomp going on that gives you the movement you need to imitate the noble ferret. And the people here have gathered around. They've got you up on their shoulders, and they're like, Vel. Somebody hands you a beer, and then they use like a small saber to cut the top of the beer off and hand you the broken glass bottle with beer pouring out of it. People are like, Vel.
Oh, I'm gonna drink the beer.
Okay. Okay, it's a little glassy.
Well, I mean, I'll use my teeth to try to sift out the glass as it goes in, but
You have this bloody smile. Yeah.
Mel
Screen
may not
wipe.
have gone to college before, but he's familiar with some of these drinking rituals.
Screen wipe. It's the 3 of you going back into your domicile. You all smell like perpetual stew, beer, and suffering. You're tired. You've done a full day's work. You've met with a horrible alien person. You've met with a chef who makes stewed mushroom stew out of living beings. You've successfully delivered a product for testing at the testing range. It's been a real day. And, we get the ending theme song, but we don't do the ending theme, but with no credits. It's just like the 3 of you climbing inside and making your way into the hallway and then waving each other good night. This felt like a good one. All right. I will give you partial credit for having completed a mission on this one. You got a little bit more work to do before you've fully locked that one in, but let's see here. Not that one. So you're gonna get 70 experience points. And then what is your payment?
Standard payment grade.
Sure.
I thought we were up one. Was it?
No.
Am I wrong?
No, we're wrong. You're wrong.
Which is 100 solars each. So based on the amount of time that has passed plus your bonus here, they're really not going to open my calculator. I have a Windows problem. Hold on. So let's see. Since the last time you been paid, it has been 17 days. And then let's say you get a 500. You get 2,200 solars payment at the end of the episode.
Can I make my attempt to purchase the mesh armor, and we can say that happens somewhere along the way, not necessarily during this particular episode? I believe I needed a 25.
25%, yep, for the rare stuff.
Yeah, how much time do we have to pass to try one of those rolls again after we?
I think now's a fine time to make another set of rolls.
Okay.
Hey, it's available for you.
I'll do a few. I might do it offline, but I'll do it like via the dice roll on.
All right, I got my armor. I'll make a note of that and update my sheet.
Any closing thoughts we want to hit the audience with at the end of this truly ridiculous episode?
I do have one.
Yeah?
We can't call it Soylent Green, but I feel like green soil might not be a bad idea for the episode name.
Well, Papa Oinker's Perpetual Sue is not branching out. Oh, no, that's what you call it when you bring it into the Imperium. You rebrand it as green soil.
So you can submit a new set of paperwork.
Papa Oinker's Perpetual Stew. So it's P.O.P.S.
Yes.
P.O.P.S is the brand that we're going to go with. It's going to be like it'll be a clear acronym, but no one knows what it's like. KFC. No one cares what the acronym actually stands for.
Yeah.
Can we do?
You don't say let's go get
hold on,
James.
James. Pretty much everybody in America knows what KFC stands for. You should have used radar.
Yeah.
No one here ever says, "Hey, I want to go eat Kentucky Fried Chicken." Everyone just says, "We'll go get KFC tonight."
Sure.
So.
But we're Americans. The three of us are Americans. We know what it means and we say it. I understand from your point of view, KFC is a nebulous concept of chicken that has been breaded.
Let me look at my old shopping list here, stuff that I did not secure.
I'm going to send you guys the article on Halo devices just in case you haven't seen it yet. Because
I looked it up on a break.
Okay, it definitely has a pretty accurate rendition of what I think the boss looks like.
Yeah, there was.
I also think it's funny that we as characters aren't entirely sure. And Rassie, every time Rassie thinks about it, Rassie gets a little bit dumber. So
I was saying to these guys in the break that the thing I find funny about Halo devices from the RPG perspective, when they first appeared in Rogue Trader, was that they have all these benefits, like you get plus 30 on all your stats straight away. But the horrible drawback is you can never remove it, and you'll eventually become an alien monster. But the first drawbacks start after like 120 years. So for a power game, it's like, I may as well use this, and even though my character is inexorably doomed, but the scope at which I'll be playing my character is perfectly fine. And they did put the Halo device into the Rogue Trader computer game too.
Oh boy!
I didn't find it yet.
only benefits, but you can't remove it. So,
ooh, yikes.
So they actually followed the lore on that one, like to the T. Interesting.
Well, you're starting to see the drawbacks because the scope of this guy's campaign has led him to be 600 years old.
Yeah.
Wanting rare items sucks.
That's your thought for the day. Wanting rare items sucks.
Hey, I'm just glad I can't wait for us to actually end up playing out this ridiculous basketball league.
We're going to do it Space Jam style as well. The guys in the garage are going to show up in the power armor. They're not going to be able to jump at all because the power armor has no legging. But boy, when they throw, it goes across the field.
They probably don't even move very fast either. We could easily outrun them.
They just got to keep one guy in the back to throw to. Boom. Like an anime cannon throw.
I think this stew will be successful because the entire Imperium is used to knowing they're eating dead people, but not thinking about it. So we just need to take that not thinking about it action and keep it going.
Yeah, that was one of the things I thought was funny, like looking at the Twitch here. It's just like, Rassie knows that he's eating other people. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yum. I do like the idea of having an antagonist battle in the background that's just big corpse starch versus P.O.P.S. It's one of those GM turn things where you only hear about it in the aftermath. Fire bombings, supply lines destroyed. Just think, one day, someone will be late to work, and there'll just be a horde of greenskins roaming out into the space station, killing everyone in their path.
I'm picturing Darkwind's, 4 or 5 ships having sudden orc uprisings in each of them. Because someone forgot to kill them before they got too big.
I think we've implied, but never seen on screen, that Chaderius, Darkwind, and his men have had bad experiences with greenskins in the past. So how hot he'll be for this deal will be its own matter for debate.
Well, these greenskins about have a very bad experience with Chaderius Darkwind going forward.
Yeah.
I feel like this actually is a bit in his favor, because all you have to do is
the taste of revenge.
Oh
Nice.
boy. Wow, what a great marketing slogan.
Was your planet destroyed by the orcs? It's okay. Ours was too. Taste a little revenge every day. Come on into P.O.P.S.
Oh my god.
I'm starting to get the vibes from that one Rick and Morty episode. The wafer cookies or whatever it was.
No.
Just to be clear, by the way, I 100% stole this concept from the Order of the Stick and their perpetual Hydra barbecue ribs. But that is... I believe that's only in the supplemental. It's not even in the webcomic. You have to have bought the supplemental comic books. That's a deep, deep reference. I won't claim it's original. I will claim that it's funny.
I really do enjoy how out of hand the random side bit got.
It's so funny because I was like, all right, I did the Papa Oinkers commercial. Now I just gotta wait for us to have the episode, and I'll put it in second after the Crueltist Dealer commercial. And now I'm probably gonna have to reshoot both of them because they're both so relevant to this episode. That's okay. It's it's 30 seconds of voice time. I can get it done in a short time. Do we have any concerns about episodes next week or the next few weeks or anything like that? I need to get in the calendar here.
Definitely good for next week.
I don't have any issues.
I'm good.
All right, friends, we'll have another episode on the 18th where you can watch us cause eternal suffering to just being born orcs. I have so many questions I could ask, but they're all cruel mockings of philosophy. Let's just say that the Warhammer 40K universe is really fucked up. And we'll see you then for more of that fucked up universe.